All right, today we're talking about the X-Men. Not the entire run, not every key, not a laundry list meant to pad a checklist, but we're talking about the top 5 X-Men books that matter historically, culturally, and financially. These are books that didn't just move the title forward, they defined what X-Men even is. And so if you understand these 5 books, you understand the spine of the franchise. And right out of the gate, there's no suspense about the number 1 spot. It's X-Men number 1 from 1963, the first appearance of the X-Men, Professor X, Cyclops, Beast, Angel, Iceman, Magneto. This book isn't just a first issue, it's a mission statement. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby weren't just launching another superhero team, they were literally creating a metaphor that would evolve for decades. Outsiders. Feared and hated for being born differently. That theme is baked in from page 1, and it's the reason X-Men eventually became Marvel's most socially relevant property. Now, from a collecting standpoint, X-Men 1 is one of those books that transcends cycles. It doesn't matter if mutants are hot or cold in pop culture. It doesn't matter if the MCU is teasing or quiet. This book is foundational. It's always going to be desirable. It doesn't matter. It's always going to build. And it's one of the few X-Men books where almost any grade makes sense because demand exists across the entire spectrum. Now, this is not an optimum grade segment, so do not take that as a buy any grade of the book. I am simply saying that this is not a wait for the dip book. It is a when you can, in the grade you want it, book. Now, moving forward just a couple issues, this is where the list starts getting really interesting. Next up is X-Men number 12, and if you've been in this hobby long enough, you already know what this book means. It's the first appearance of the Juggernaut, and he's absolutely essential to X-Men mythology. Kane Marco isn't just a villain of the week, if you will. He's tied directly to Professor X, and that personal connection changes the emotional stakes of the series for the Juggernaut. And he brings something new to the table. He's unstoppable. Not clever, not sneaky, not subtle, not go behind your back. Just pure momentum and brute force. He's a stud. He becomes a recurring obstacle for the X-Men, forcing them to think differently about how they confront threats. Now, X-Men number 12 also has one of those covers that sticks with you. He's bursting through a wall, chaos everywhere, and the X-Men are clearly outmatched. It visually communicates danger in a way earlier covers hinted at but didn't fully deliver. And so this book for the Silver Age marks a tonal shift towards higher stakes and more intense conflict for the X-Men. Now, from a collecting perspective, this is one of the strongest Silver Age X-Men books outside of issue number 1. And if I were to rank them from that perspective, I would literally rank this as number 2, only behind X-Men number 1. The Juggernaut has longevity. He crosses into Avengers stories, solo arcs, animated series, films, you name it. I mean, that cross-title relevance matters. It keeps demand broad. Strong mid-grade copies of this book move constantly, and they move pretty easily without any drama. And so then you hit X-Men 4. And now we're cooking with gas because this is the first appearance of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and one of the most iconic Magneto covers of all of the Silver Age. Honestly, when I look at this book, I don't even think about the Brotherhood. I often just think this is the Magneto book, even though it's not. This book is where Magneto stops being just the bad guy from issue 1 and becomes the straight-up antagonist. The Brotherhood ultimately introduces the idea that mutants will organize against humanity, not just react to it, and obviously, that's what Magneto's all about. Now, this cover alone does a lot of heavy lifting. Magneto's front and center, commanding, powerful, almost regal, if you will, for the Silver Age. It visually establishes him as more than a one-off villain. This is the leader. Someone with a philosophy, not just a grudge. And so collecting-wise, X-Men number 4 really sits in a sweet spot because it's early enough to feel truly vintage and important enough to be universally recognized, and visually iconic enough to always have display appeal. Now, a mid-grade copy, an upper mid-grade copy will say, 8.0, 8.5 or above with strong color and clean presentation is going to outshine a higher grade copy with dull reds because of the color that it is. And so this is a book you buy with your eyes first and then the label second. The color on this cover really needs to pop. X-Men number 3 is on this list. I think it might surprise people, but historically, this is a major book for the X-Men. It's the first appearance of the Blob. And on the surface, it might feel like an odd choice for top 5 because the Blob isn't Magneto. He's not Wolverine. He's not a headline character. But this book matters for a reason that goes deeper than popularity. The Blob represents one of the earliest examples of mutant power, being both physical and psychological. He's not a polished supervillain mastermind. He's raw, dangerous, tragic. He's also one of the first times the X-Men faced a mutant who doesn't want to be saved. He doesn't want to join a cause. And he doesn't fit neatly into good or evil. He's a very interesting villain. That tension becomes a recurring theme in X-Men storytelling across all of its books. Now, from a market perspective, X-Men number 3 benefits heavily from being early, very scarce and high grades, and for the most part overlooked, because most people go after 1, 12. That combination is powerful, because early Silver Age Marvel, books like this tend to correct upward because collectors start filling historical gaps. I mean, another book that comes to mind that isn't an X-Men book, but to give you an example of what I mean, would be Captain America 117. First, Sam Wilson. That book, in my opinion, for what it is criminally underrated and undervalued. And so books like X-Men number 3 and Captain America 117, those sorts of books, they're not hype-driven because there basically is no hype around them. And then we arrive at Giant Size X-Men number 1. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't own this book. I don't suggest buying it. I think that most Bronze Age keys are in trouble right now, like Hulk 181, ASM 129, although ASM 129 is a little bit different to me because it's a Spider-Man key. It has the Spider-Man, franchise to it, and so that's always going to be in demand. But some of these books where they're Bronze Age keys and they have, 15, 18, some thousand books on the census, I don't like that. I don't like now, if the price were to come down, I think, okay, but the prices for Bronze Age keys are not in line with the census, which has done nothing but explode in the last few years. So GSX1, great book, love the cover. I'm going to get into why it matters, but I don't recommend buying the book. In any event, this is where the franchise changed lanes. New team, new direction, new energy, obviously characters with Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, you name it. This isn't just a relaunch, it's a rebirth. And I just want to stop here because I almost put X-Men 94 in this spot because this book is more popular than X-Men 94, but it didn't always used to be that way. Years ago at the cons, X-Men 94 was the book that you wanted to have over Giant Size X-Men 1. But, over time, things shifted, and that's the case in the hobby. Things change. But without Giant Size X-Men number 1, the modern X-Men that we have today don't exist. Full stop. So this book takes a struggling title and transforms it into a global phenomenon, and obviously that matters. It introduces diversity, not as a gimmick, but as a core identity. It includes different cultures, different personalities, different power sets, all under the same banner. Now, it is a Bronze Age, which means there's obviously going to be a lot of copies, but demand for this book is huge still. It's collected by Silver Age purists, Bronze Age fans, Wolverine collectors, Storm collectors, and X-Men fans in general. And so the overlap keeps this book liquid, even though there are a lot of copies. I personally just don't collect that way. I collect, high-grade silver and golden, but, there is definitely appeal here. And I certainly don't recommend buying this book in a 9.8 at all. And so the story to this book doesn't change because the corners are sharper. And obviously, we've seen 9.8s continue to pop up on the census for this book, and then obviously a 9.9. And so when you step back and you look at these 5 books together, you start to really see the arc of the franchise because X-Men #1 establishes the concept. X-Men #3 expands the idea of what a mutant can be. X-Men #4 defines organized opposition. And X-Men #12 raises the stakes, both emotionally and physically. And then Giant Size X-Men #1 reinvents everything for a new generation. And that's why these books endure. They're not just keys because of first appearances, they're keys because they represent turning points. And so if you're building an X-Men collection, these are the anchors, in my opinion. You can build outward from here. You can add a Hulk 181 for Wolverine later. Obviously, we all know there's thousands of them. You can even add a Dark Phoenix later, although I don't recommend it. I think that book's going down. But you can chase modern variants if that's your thing. If that's what you want to do, if that's what makes you happy, then by all means. But if you understand and respect these 5 books, then you're standing on solid X-Men ground. And that's really what smart collecting is about. It's not about chasing noise. It's not reacting to every spike, but identifying the books that matter, understanding why they matter, and then making deliberate choices that hold up over time. Because trends fade. Hype moves on, but foundation books like X-Men 1, X-Men 12, those stick. And the X-Men, more than any other franchise, prove that when the foundation is strong, everything built on top of it has a chance to last as well.